Welcome back to Spotlight. I'd like to welcome my guests, Noeline Levens-Clark and Ms. Mikhail Baird of Scotiabank.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you on Spotlight. Regional AIDS Testing Day. It's another year. And I know you have a theme. What's your theme this year?
We are calling the 2 Fridays Fantastic Fridays. Even though the CBMP ad says Friday, June 27th, we are beginning this Friday the 13th in Anegada, Jost Van Dyke, and Virgin Gorda. Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
Yes. Sister Islands, Friday the 13th. And then on Tortola on Friday, June 27th, 9 to 2 on the Sister Islands, 9 to 4 in Tortola. Anegada and Jost Van Dyke, there will be HIV counseling and testing being offered at both clinics, Anegada Clinic and the Jost Van Dyke Clinic. And then on Virgin Gorda in the Scotiabank parking lot, we would be outside, music, food, and a lot of fun. Karaoke, music, I said music already, music again, and HIV testing. The wonderful thing about the day is that we plan to offer one finger prick, and you can get 3 tests done with that one prick. HIV, high blood sugar, as well as cholesterol test.
Oh, okay.
That makes it easier, less stress.
Yeah.
Yes, you have your blood pressure, your weight checks done. You can see the nutritionist there. You can get information on cancer from the BVI Cancer Society. You can have a mini back rub, a massage for as long as you want from the Ambience Spa. I believe Social Security Board plans to be there as well. Scotiabank has a tent, and they've been our partner for the last 5 years strong.
It's gonna be 6 years.
6 years going.
6 years.
Yes. Yeah.
So Scotiabank is not into the health business, Ms. Baird. What are you
We're not.
What are you going to be doing on your tent?
We're not into the health business per se, but what we do is one of our corporate social responsibility is giving back to health initiatives. So the HIV testing day was one of the initiatives that we thought that we can give back to our community. So we just jump on board, and this is our 6th year. Whoop, whoop, Scotiabank. So this is our 6th year in joining with National AIDS Program and CBMP, and we're gonna pull it off. Same thing like we did the previous years.
So what's your sponsorship and what your partnership consists of?
The testing, well, not the testing kits entirely, but the logistics part of it. It's very expensive to pull off. Note that your test, when you come, if you come to do your test, you're not paying for it. It's already paid for. So
the tests and the food and all the things that's provided,
The tents, tables,
tents, table,
everything.
chairs,
Scotia
Yeah.
foot in the bill.
Scotia foot in the bill.
They're pulling their weight.
Basically, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's really good.
It's actually a good reflection of public-private sector partnership, where government can link with private sector organizations and have activities running for the community. It works.
It works.
Yes.
And it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. The fantastic
Fantastic Friday.
Friday.
Yes, have fun getting tested.
Have fun getting tested.
Yes.
And with that idea, how you figure that idea is working in relationship with HIV testing? Yeah, I mean, is it that you need to soften the approach?
It's necessary. HIV came with a lot of baggage, heavyweight, stigma.
Lots of stigma.
Yeah, I mean, we saw some scary pictures in the past. I mean, I've been a nurse for 25 years, and I've nursed persons who were dying of AIDS, and it was not a pretty sight. People were looking very slim, very emaciated, that kind of thing. And so people forever have that image in their mind. And so it frightens people when you hear HIV testing. Nobody wants to hear. Even if I'm HIV positive, I don't want to know. I don't want to get tested. Keep me far from that. The longer I don't know, the better for me. But we have found that if we make it feasible, amenable, soften it, just like blood sugar, blood pressure, it is a health test. And it is something that everyone needs to know. Knowing your HIV status is important. Not just for pregnant women, but for the men that they have relationships with. Children, everybody needs to know their HIV status. Old people, everyone.
It's like knowing your high blood pressure status.
Exactly.
Or knowing your diabetes status.
Cholesterol level.
Yes.
Yes.
Because if you don't know those things, you're liable to be eating sugar all the time with diabetes, and you end up in a coma or something.
Exactly. You prevent complications when you know.
And
it's the same thing with HIV. If you know early, you can get treatment and prevent AIDS, which is the scary looking part of the disease. Yes.
That's the part where the slimming and
That's exactly what happens.
the
when-
emaciated look and,
Yes.
and all of that.
Yes. Weight loss,
Sores
diarrhea,
and-
cough.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what you're trying to avoid.
Yes.
So you're gonna have a lot of fun on these days, and you're having food and DJs, and tell us all about the fun. Wait, what's happening on the Sister Islands first on Friday the 13th?
On Friday the 13th, like I said before, on Anegada, at the Anegada Clinic, we'll be offering HIV counseling and testing to the public, the Anegada community. On Jos Van Dyke, at the Jos Van Dyke Clinic, we'll be offering HIV counseling and testing as well. And on Virgin Gorda, this Friday, for Anegada, Jos Van Dyke, and Virgin Gorda, we'll be offering not only HIV counseling, but blood glucose, cholesterol, blood pressure, weight checks. We'll also have the BVI Cancer Society. We will have the Ambience Spa. We will have
Gender affairs.
Office of Gender Affairs,
Gender
promoting
affairs.
gender awareness, especially given that they're now into Men's Health Month and the Fatherhood campaign.
Dental.
Dental
health,
services will be
dental
doing dental checks. Mental health services will be providing resources, information, counseling, consultation if necessary.
This
I
is
think that's it.
this is what be
Yeah.
happening on all the islands.
Only
On,
last year we
Okay.
started off in Tortola with the Health and Wellness Expo, and it was such a huge success that we decided to expand it to Virgin Gorda. We're hoping in coming years we can do the same thing on Sister Islands. And we hope to partner with more community agencies, because a lot of times you have different activities, different entities having health fairs. So I think we need to all just pool our resources and have one big shebang, and just make sure that whatever people need, they can access it. Because guess what? Right now people need to pay for health services. Get a
That's
blood
true.
pressure check at the hospital or the clinic. Anything you need done,
gotta
you have
pay
to pay
for
for
it,
it. So I mean, hey, it's free.
you
Why
take
not
you take advantage of
take
it.
advantage
Take
of it this
everything.
year?
Yep.
Okay. So that's happening on the Sister Islands on the 13th.
Yes.
And you also have, I see you have a DJ. You're gonna have.
We're gonna have DJ Night Nurse in Virgin Gorda and DJ Dre in Tortola. Last year we had one entry for karaoke for condoms. One lady, she sang a wonderful dancehall song about getting tested. She can't, she don't want to get AIDS, that kind of thing. It was so much fun. It was a big joke, but it was really entertaining. It was very creative. She came to the park, she put her pen to paper and she wrote her song and she sang it, and she was our winner.
Okay.
You remember, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
And
was
what
nice.
about food?
Food, we're going to have food. Nature's Way will be providing lunch. We want to promote health. And health and wellness not only takes into consideration getting checked, but you should have healthy meals. So Nature's Way will be there providing healthy food, smoothies, drinks.
Because
work.
part of the whole program is keeping your immune system up,
Healthy.
Strong.
up the path.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in Noel Lloyd Action, as part of Action Park, you're having a big fair, and all those things that you mentioned in Sister Islands, they're going to be in the park as well.
That's correct. Whatever we're doing on Virgin Gorda, we're going to do in Tortola as well. Yes. So we will expand the same testing services and all the different agencies that were mentioned before.
And that's on the
27th, the
27th.
last Friday of the month, Friday, June 27th in Tortola.
So Anegada and Virgin Gorda, they're going to be going on simultaneously.
Simultaneously at the same
At the
time on
same time.
Friday the 13th, which is
Okay.
this Friday
This
coming.
Friday.
This Friday coming. And then from what time it's going to start in Tortola?
9 a.m. to 2 p.m. in Virgin Gorda, Anegada and Jos Van Dyke, and 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. in Tortola. We usually are asked by the bank to hold on for especially the construction workers, and the bank staff usually send them over to the park so that they can get their test as well.
We started out, what Scotiabank does is actually we're supposed to make our office spaces available for testing so you can have the privacy. But it was, the first year we did it, we had such a good turnout. We just extended to the park this time. But we also have private spaces for counseling and testing. But it was too much traffic in the one office space, so we just extended to the park and just invite other people. So we have the other groups that's coming in.
So,
Along.
so in the park, how are you going to have the privacy and the confidentiality aspect of it?
We have a floor plan for the park. So the testing area and the counseling area is going to be secluded. If you're familiar with the Norlight Park, you know there's 2 gazebos.
Yes.
So we're going to use the gazebo behind our First Bank for the testing and counseling area. There is no other activity going on in that area. It's just assigned for testing and counseling only.
So you can have like partitions and,
Yes.
and so on. So you
We
can go
make
in
it private. Yes.
Okay. That's important.
It's important.
Yes,
That's
it's important.
Yeah. And speaking of the privacy, how is the stigma coming? Have you been able to measure the stigma? Is it dissipating? Is it being reduced? Is it still there? People still concerned about it as much as they used to? Because HIV seemed to have lost the dread that it once had.
I agree.
And so I was thinking and hoping that it might lose some of the stigma as well.
It has. I have seen it literally, where persons who were afraid had a test and they were like, okay, that was easy. And they were so happy to know that they tested negative. There were persons who suspected that they were positive, and when they did test, they found out, and then they were able to get the treatment and realize that life still goes on. I've also seen where people are more accepting. A lot of the members of the BVI New Day Foundation, which is a support group for persons living with HIV, they have shared. They had a promise that they made, a commitment to share at least with one family member or a close friend, and they did that just so that they could always have somebody to fall back on. So it's much easier now for them to live knowing that the secret is not theirs alone. They don't live in fear or isolation with the disease.
But still, it's not something that people are willing to announce as yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's
It
not necessary.
it hasn't reached that level where
Just-
somebody from a local person want to come on TV per se.
Right.
No.
And say, well, I'm living with HIV and I'm having a good life and don't be afraid.
Right.
We haven't gotten that person
No,
yet.
no, and I don't even, for me personally, I don't mind. I think when all is said and done, we need to respect people's sense of self and how they decide to compose themselves and what they decide to share. It's
your choice.
It's your choice.
Yeah,
That's
Yes.
right. Now, I know Scotia was in the commercial and y'all was singing and dressed up in your red and stuff. Are you going to be out on the testing days as well?
We
do you participate? I know you give money, but do you give time as well?
Yes, we have a booth as well. So, in as much as we're not under health per se, we don't have a health booth, but we have our products and services available. If you need a loan, we can do a referral and just have someone call you. And we have our promotional items as well under our tent. We're there. The Scotia presence is there. So it's not just a National AIDS program or the other groups that's coming out. We're going to be there in flying colors.
And what I like last year is that persons who got tested, Scotia gave them little giveaways.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really, really, it was a good feeling.
Is that going to happen this year?
Oh, yes.
What are the
We already have them lined up.
so you're going to tell us what the giveaways are?
Should we? Should we? We have the basic,
It's an enticement,
the Scotia mugs, the real coffee mugs. We have some water bottles, some bags, rulers, pencils. Just come on.
Well,
Come on, get tested and you get a treat.
I'm interested in the water bottle.
Okay,
I'm
you
interested in the water
get a
bottle.
treat.
I get
Yeah.
water bottles from different businesses. You have like a collection of water
Oh, you have a
bottles.
collection?
Yeah.
Get tested and you may
Boy,
get one of Scotia one to add to your collection.
CCT,
Okay.
every business have a water bottle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And everybody's promoting. Water bottle to me is symbolic of exercise and
Yes.
activity.
Health and wellness.
Health and wellness, because
Yes.
you running, you playing, and you get thirsty and you want water, and you have your water bottle right there, and it's really convenient. So
Get tested and we'll just add one to your collection.
yeah, that's it. I need to come get a test because Loli was supposed to bring me a test tonight,
Uh-oh.
and she didn't bring me a test, and I haven't been tested now in a year.
So
years.
would you
2 years?
2 years.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
come on down,
that's not
27th?
good. I like to know my status.
And that's
Up to
good.
you.
So that's cool. So it's good. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's a lot of excitement, and it's everything in the pack. Pressure check, diabetes check,
Weight,
weight,
HIV,
HIV, all that stuff.
the works, dental, you get your mouth checked. Yes.
Yeah. You could get a massage.
Get a
Yes.
massage,
Very
yeah.
relaxing.
So it's a health expo.
It's
It's
a
like
health-
it's like
yeah.
regional testing day, regional AIDS testing day has become a health expo. That's great. Now let's talk about some of the data. You know, I like to measure the progress that we've been making over the years. I know you've been doing a lot of work, so it can't be for lack of work.
Yeah.
You know, you haven't been sitting on your laurels, and you have been really, since you've taken over the National AIDS Program, I have to congratulate you and commend you for the fantastic work that you've been doing, and you're never afraid to come on. You're never afraid to come on Spotlight and let it hang out.
Right.
And
Thank you
that's,
very much.
That's really important. Any increases, any decreases? I know the last time you were here, you were hoping that the rate would have slowed, and the beginning of the year you had a good feeling. What's your feeling now?
I still am just hesitant. I'm waiting until the end of the year. We have had 2 new cases. Last year, year before, that was 2012, we had 5 new cases. And in 2013, we had 10 new cases. So this year, we're hoping that we have less than 10. Because over the years, we've had less than 10 usually. 9, 9, 7, 6, 5. And then 10, we went up to 10. So we've had 2 new cases this year. So we're just waiting and hoping, that no one tests positive. But if they do, like I said, treatment is available, support is available. Whatever they need to live well and live long, it's there.
So you said 2 new cases.
Yes.
So instead of like 10 last year,
10 last year.
and you only have 10 this, and you have 2 this year.
But we started off the first half of last year with 2. So, like I
Okay.
say,
So you
there's
keep
no
your
way
balance,
to know
yeah.
which way it's going to go.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and this is the 6th month.
Yes.
So this the half a
It's
year.
looking better.
There's a half a year mark
looking
coming up,
better,
right?
yes.
The half a year mark coming up. So you're hoping that the rate has gone down, and that would be something.
Exciting.
Yeah, that would be
Exciting.
something if the rate could go down.
Our goal
But you-
for 2015 is to achieve Millennium Development Goal number 6, to lessen the spread of HIV. And every country in the world must report on that, including the BVI. And so we're hoping our numbers over the next 2 years, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2 years,
Yeah,
go down.
will go down. So
Yes.
you go down this year, and you go down. You'll be.
We achieved our goal.
Yeah, achieve your
Yes,
goal.
Yes.
That's really cool. Now, what services we have when people are HIV positive? What are the services that are available to them?
Okay, once a person tests positive, the first thing we do besides the rapid test is a confirmation test, and that blood sample is sent abroad to our reference lab in Tampa, Florida. That takes about 2 weeks to come back. Once it's confirmed that they are HIV positive, they see Dr. Nicole Wilson, who is a medical internist at People's Hospital, and she will do their bloods, check their CD4 count, which is the white blood cell that HIV attacks, as well as how many copies of HIV they have in their blood. And once that's ascertained, if their CD4 level is above 500 and their viral load is very low, couple thousands, she will defer treatment because they are well enough to function. They will also receive counseling psychologically to cope mentally, because it is an emotional blow to learn of being.
It's still traumatic.
It's still traumatic, no matter which way you take it. There's no way of getting around it. There's a lot of anger, a lot of depression, confusion, blame, guilt, and a lot of persons sometimes turn in and get depressed, or they turn out with their anger and they may attack. And so they need help in working through their feelings and processing the disease. So there's psychological help, there's laboratory services, the support group is there for peer counseling. They have somebody who is with the disease that they can talk to and get the support that they need. Whatever else that they require, whether it be drugs, medications, even financial assistance, that would be done from the HIV/AIDS Foundation based on evaluation. So there's a lot going for persons living with HIV right now in the BVI.
And how strong is the HIV/AIDS Foundation right now financially? How strong is it? Because you seem to be drawing on it a lot for various forms of assistance.
The thing is, I'm not in a position to report because I'm not a part of the organization, but I do know that over the past year they have reported financial decline, and so that's why they decided not to provide free medication for everyone living with HIV, but to do it on a needs basis. And so once you're diagnosed, the chairman will do an assessment of how much you can contribute and then decide.
Okay. Because I know that over the last couple of years, the funding for HIV/AIDS has
declined,
decreased. Yeah. And I was wondering, how is the difference being made up? Is it that the international funders and international donors think that AIDS is the rate is slow to the point where they no longer get to give that amount of money? Or what is the strategy now when it comes to HIV/AIDS from an international perspective?
Internationally, funding has been cut. PEPFAR, DFID, money, millions of dollars was allocated to fighting the spread of HIV, especially in Africa and the Caribbean, because these were the two nations that were highest globally. The plan, over the last 5 to 10 years, every country had to strategize and decide on the way forward so that when all is said and done and the funding is finished, we can survive on our own. And that's what we have been trying to do. I know there's some Caribbean countries who depended on the Global Fund to finance the cost of medication and other stuff. And now that Global Fund ended last year, they were in a predicament. You know, clients were not getting meds, that kind of thing. And so we are strategizing where the HIV/AIDS Foundation is concerned in terms of ensuring that people contribute. People take responsibility for their own health, and once they can pay, they pay. If they can't, assistance is provided. But we make sure that people are able to stand on their own 2 feet because the funding will end. The government gives a subvention annually to the HIV/AIDS Foundation, and I don't believe that will stop. But when all is said and done, internationally, it's not the same.
So we need to really focus as individuals to make sure that we remain HIV negative.
Conscious and aware, yes. Because I think, like you said, most people have gotten so used to hearing HIV that it's no longer a scare factor. And people are still taking risks. There are people who are living as if I'm going to die, let me die having fun.
Yeah, we got to take a break.
Yes.
And I want to, now that you mentioned taking risks, I want to know about if you've seen any increase in condom use or safer sex practices. We'll take a break. We'll come right back with Noeline Clark and Mikhail Baird talking about HIV regional testing day right after these words from our sponsors. Keep it locked right here to Spotlight.
Spotlight is brought to you by Tortola Concrete Limited and H. Lavity Stout Community College.
Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm Edwin Enka. I'm here with Noeline Levens-Clark from the National AIDS Program and Mikhail Baird from Scotiabank. And we've been talking about HIV Regional Testing Day coming up Friday the 13th. That's this Friday in Virgin Gorda and Anegada, and next Friday 27th at Noel Positive Action Movement Park in Tortola. And there's a lot going on in the HIV AIDS world. Testing. We are talking about safe sex practices, and I was wondering if we were seeing a reduction or increase in condom use or safe sex practices, if you were able to determine whether we were engaging in safer sex.
The interesting thing is that persons can come and get condoms, but there's no guarantee that they will use them. We have noticed a decrease in persons accessing condoms from the National AIDS Program, and I know one factor could be cost. We're now charging 25 cents for one. And it's a shift that we decided to make because providing free condoms is not sustainable for any government, for any country. It's a slippery slope. And we had to put measures in place, and I'm saying the iPhone, Samsung Galaxy $400-500 or more. 25 cents, 2 quarts, and a 5 cents. Hey. We normally, when we buy those phones, we buy our skins or our cases just to make sure if they fall, they're buffered. We need to make sure when we're having sex, we're buffered and protected as well.
So you don't see anything wrong with a quarter.
Nope.
Well, it could be. I understand, and we were talking.
It's a deterrent. It is a deterrent.
We could be talking. We were talking off air about it. Then you were saying that there were dispensers in various locations.
I know at MB's in Huntam's Gut there are condoms via the dispensing machine, and so a lot of young people go there and they get the condoms. And the good thing about having the machine is that it's accessible even when the National AIDS program is closed.
And so we need to have more of those types of
Yes.
machines. And you were talking about in strip clubs and
Bars.
yes. and so on, where you
Yes.
can go and get a condom, because not all the time you're in a bar and something happens and you don't have access.
Exactly. But then again, too, one young man was saying one of the reasons why a lot of men end up having sex without condoms is because of the influence of alcohol. When you're drunk, condom is the last thing you're thinking about. And so you end up having unprotected sex, and then you wake up the next morning, can't even remember who you had sex with, and then you test positive for HIV 3 months later and have not a clue. So alcohol is another factor that we need to take into consideration. People need to be conscious, they need to be aware, know where they're at, and
But I suspect substance abuse generally,
on a whole.
Yeah.
whether it's alcohol, marijuana, or other intoxicating,
stuff.
intoxicating substances,
Yes.
you would need to be mindful of that, and that is really a dangerous situation for you to put yourself in,
Yes.
where you get incapacitated
Close your judgment.
and out of control.
And there are other factors too, because when we did the Youth Health and Sexuality survey, we realized that alcohol was mostly used by men in our community, and crack cocaine by women. That was such a startling revelation.
Really?
Yes.
That's a startling revelation.
But women who use hard drugs compromise sexually for the money to buy the drugs. And men on a whole, when they have sex drunk, like I say, they have no control, they can't think, and so they have unprotected sex and put themselves at risk. Women who are in abusive relationships, it's difficult if you believe that your partner is cheating on you to advocate or negotiate using condoms. Young people who want to get ahead very fast with the technology, material gain, it's much easier if an older man or whoever is providing them with money or this material gain says, I want to have it bareback. And so it's much more difficult for them to determine or to decide, I'm not going to do it unless I protect them myself. And so there are still situations where people take risk.
But and are you having any success in, getting people to understand that those risky situations and to help to reduce the incidences where they find themselves in those situations?
We are trying. We've been going to all the schools over the years consistently and just beating it into the heads of our young people that you have to protect yourself. It's no ands, ifs, nor buts. And I see a generation coming up that's more conscious, more aware, more enlightened. We are now going into workplaces. We're taking, instead of doing the big symposiums and seminars, we're going into workplaces and meeting people where they're at. Letting them know point blank, these are what you're at risk for, not just HIV AIDS, but syphilis, herpes, gonorrhea, chlamydia, the works. And so you have got to protect yourselves sexually. It doesn't cut it just to compromise.
How do people feel about those other diseases, those other STIs? You don't hear much about them. In matter of fact, if you hadn't mentioned it just now, I wouldn't have asked you about it.
Yes.
And so we have the focus is all on HIV, but there are all these other STIs that's around and perhaps might be just as dangerous.
Not just that, I have come to realize that herpes is more common in the BVI than HIV. And for herpes, hepatitis B, and HIV, there is no cure. None of them, there's no cure. For chlamydia, syphilis, gonorrhea, there's treatment. It can be eradicated. But for the 3 H's, herpes, hepatitis B, and HIV, there's no cure. So at the end of the day, and people with herpes use the same medications like people with HIV. So it's still a reality that we have to face.
Well, that's quite interesting.
Yes.
Because we don't preach that. We don't talk about
Yes.
herpes and hepatitis and those other diseases. And you would think that only HIV is a big deal.
No.
You know, because and
I believe when all is said and done, HIV is more life-threatening. If you don't get tested and know your status, you can end up with AIDS and you can die. Herpes, you're going to live, but you will suffer. It may be very painful, very uncomfortable, but you could survive. Hepatitis B, no. Same thing, you can die. But we don't see much of hepatitis B because we have vaccines available now. So most people growing up, they've been immunized. But like I say, it's still a scare on a whole.
Yeah. Now there was a movement afoot, I think last year, a couple of years ago, after the funding for HIV dropped off, that the international community was talking about and pushing the idea of HIV as a chronic disease, however communicable, but chronic disease, which I guess is a disease that you can live with for a long period of time, like any other chronic disease, like diabetes or high blood pressure. Is that still the push?
Yes.
and can you access the sources of funding for the chronic disease, for HIV under that chronic disease umbrella?
Yes, we can. And it is a fact. We have observed HIV for the last 25, 30 years. And we have found that once you know that you're positive and you get the treatment that you need, you can live as long as you would as if you didn't have HIV. It is now considered a chronic disease and it can be managed with treatment, just like diabetes, just like high blood pressure, asthma. You just have to take your treatment for the rest of your life.
Okay. Yes. And how does that? How does that feel? What is the emotional side, the psychological side of having HIV as a chronic disease? No longer being afraid of dying, but having to be constantly medicated. Do you have any stories to tell about what persons feel from that point on?
I know we have had experiences, especially with members of the support group, where there's always a forum for sharing. And 2 of the members said they're done. If they're going to have to die, they're going to die, but they're not taking their meds anymore. And it was at that point in time, the next day, we called the hospital pharmacy to find out if the 1-a-day pill, Atripla, was here. And it was such a relief. Those patients were put on Atripla the following day, and they are now happy. So you're asking me, how does it feel? I wouldn't know, because I don't live with HIV. But I know from where I sit, it gives hope. We now have Atripla, so anyone with HIV taking more than one medication can now go to 1 pill a day. They take it at night before they go to sleep, and that's it. They don't have to stress. The side effects are not that many as the other pills, and so, like I say, it gives hope. It gives people that sense of self that I can live, and I can live well. I can live well.
Because with diabetes, for example,
yes,
I don't see people having that feeling of the stress,
right,
with the other chronic diseases,
right,
and
you don't see it.
Yeah, and I'm wondering. Yeah, I don't see it. Well, let me see. My parents. I don't even see it with my parents.
Right.
I don't see it with my parents.
Right.
My dad's got his table full of pills.
Yes.
And he takes them on a regular basis.
Yes.
But he doesn't. It's like a habit now. It's accepted. It's the norm. It's a new lifestyle.
Yes. Yes, and I have been personally diagnosed with insulin-dependent diabetes for the last 25 years. Mm-hmm. I take 3 injections a day. And I usually tell people with HIV, trust me, you better take your medications. Pop that 1 pill in your mouth, because it's not easy. Mm-hmm. It is not easy to live with a chronic disease, but your mindset, your positive outlook, and your self-care makes all the difference.
Okay. We got to take another break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk some more about some of your new strategies in terms of information dissemination. I know you got a new guideline out. You got the children book, mm-hmm. and we talk about what you're trying to do in that area with young people, and have a standard process by which we could follow in terms of HIV and the other STIs. Keep it locked with Spotlight. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Spotlight is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, the BVI Tourist Board, and CCT Global Communications.
Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm having a really interesting conversation here with Ms. Noeline Clark, National AIDS Program Coordinator, and Ms. Miguel Baird. She's a customer service support officer at Scotiabank. Scotiabank is just helping the BVI regional testing day, or you're all over the world?
We're all over the region right now.
Okay.
It's not just BVI. We're having the testing. If you would like to be tested, but you're not in BVI on June 13th, or you're not around on the 27th, you can check out a Scotiabank branch.
Wherever you are in the region?
Yes. I was Trinidad, for example, have 57 testing sites this year. 57 testing sites. So if you're in Trinidad, you don't have no excuse for not getting tested. Scotiabank branch.
So Scotiabank has branches
throughout
just about every Caribbean country.
Just about every Caribbean country.
And you're sponsoring regional testing day in all the places where you have branches.
Yes.
That was serious.
Awesome.
That was serious endeavor.
But Antigua did theirs last month, the 28th. They had a launch. So if you're in Antigua, I'm sorry, Antigua already had their testing. So any other Caribbean island, Belize, Guyana, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, get to a Scotiabank center and you can get tested.
So wherever you are in the region, this is going on. Regional testing day is going on. That's why it's regional testing day.
Yes.
Regional testing day is going on, and wherever regional testing day is,
Scotiabank is, yes.
Wow,
but on the global
great.
scale, international testing is also observed on June 27th. So the entire world is going to be promoting HIV testing on Friday, June 27th.
Wow, that's a good thing. Yeah. Now, perhaps getting information out to the public. I know you've been all over the place talking, but you put out literature now.
Yes.
What kind of literature you putting out?
Okay, we completed our National Strategic Plan for HIV/AIDS. That has been submitted to Cabinet for approval, so we're awaiting Cabinet's feedback so that we can commence implementation. We also completed our updates of our national guidelines, clinical guidelines for HIV, the management of HIV/AIDS and other sexually transmitted infections. It is for clinicians, for doctors and nurses within the health sector, where they are guided as to how to treat, and our treatment is standardized based on international guidelines. So one doctor in the private sector is not doing something that's different from the hospital. Everyone is on the same page. Every medical office, every private practice, every community health clinic, even the hospital has a copy of this, every unit, so that it can guide clinicians.
And that is
clinical national guidelines, the British Virgin Islands national guidelines for the management of HIV/AIDS and other sexually transmitted infections. It's based on World Health Organization clinical guidelines as well.
Okay. And what kind of things are in there?
Okay, so we have on the management of chancroids, STIs in teenagers, pregnant women, how to manage or prevent HIV being transferred from a mother to a child, what medications you give, when, how to give a positive test result, how to do contact tracing, how to do everything related to treatment and care for persons with any sexually transmitted infection.
And this is for the public, or this is just for the medical profession?
Just for the medical doctors and nurses in the medical and clinical profession, yes.
Okay. And I see you have a coloring book for children.
Yes, we at the National AIDS Program, we launched last month, Respect and Understanding. It's a workbook series. The first workbook caters to children ages 4 to 6, and you get a complimentary crayon that's also marked Respect and Understanding. And then our second one is for children ages 7 to 11. And the last one is for children ages 12 to 16. And they all promote information on basic human rights, respect of persons even though they're different. We also want to educate young people on sex, sexual health, abortion, condom use, everything. And so we've been giving them to students as we present, and we also have them at the health fair, and we'll be having them on Regional Testing Day for parents to give to their children or for children to come and pick up for themselves.
How old are the children you're giving these pamphlets and these?
No. This one is basically a coloring book, Respect and Understanding, for ages 4 to 6. So you will learn how to respect yourself as a child, and respect other people, respect your environment, understand different people, that kind of thing.
Okay.
How they feel.
So you're hoping to end discrimination. You're hoping to create some kind of unity among the various races and ethnicities and
sexual diversity
and genders
and sexual diversity.
and sexual diversity.
Yeah, we have to learn to respect. Even though we don't agree, we must learn to respect. Show some respect.
So we gonna train the children to respect
differences.
Differences.
Yes,
so,
and appreciate it.
Different sexual choices and all those.
Appreciate different hair color, different skin color. We're all different and we're special, just the way we are.
So have you met any resistance?
None whatsoever. We've had some good discussions because we go to St. George's every Friday, and the young people are very vocal about how they feel, and I think I've seen a change in the way they think. They're more open now in their views. Most of them who were like, oh no, this is the straight and narrow, But
so what is the Christian community saying?
We haven't heard from them as yet, but I know for the pastors who participated in our Valentine's Day activities initiatives, they are on board with promoting respect and understanding. The church will forever, the Bible is totally against homosexuality, so we should not expect the church to accept that. All we're asking for is basic respect of people's human rights. Whoever I am, whatever I come with, love me and respect me just the same.
So no judgment.
No judgment.
God
is our judge. God is our ultimate judge.
Let God take care of that.
Let God deal with that.
God said don't do it, you do it, that's your problem. But I'm not supposed to hate you.
Exactly.
Okay. That's interesting. Now, the older books, you're talking to who, teenagers?
Yes, so we have the preteens, 7 to 11 workbook, and this is for teenager, and it has information on changes that will happen in your body as you become an adolescent, how you feel about yourself, your self-esteem, different activities, different things to color, and you also get a complimentary box of crayons with this workbook. And then the last one, the 12 to 16, this one speaks about abortion, more heavier subjects, STIs, a lot of puzzles, activities. We've found that workbooks have worked over the years with our students. And so that's why we decided to create them. So these are all locally created. They were not ordered. They were locally made by the National AIDS Program. Miss Kenya Jeffers, she created the 4 to 6. Awesome job. And I did the 12 to 16. And we both work on the 7 to 11. And then we gave them out to young people for them to critique, and they let us know, hey, because we had the first one, the 16 to we had the 12 to 18, and they said, nah, that's too basic for us as 18-year-olds, so we had to pull it back to 16, that kind of thing, based on their feedback.
Okay. And what is the goal? What are you hoping to achieve?
We want to,
and particularly regarding
HIV/AIDS, create awareness, sensitize young people on the risk of having unsafe sex, being prepared, actually being confident in your sexuality, knowing who you are and what you really want, and placing your sexual health as a priority, because we all are physical, mental, spiritual, social, and sexual beings, and we have to be able to strike a balance. Pay attention.
Well, sexuality has been a taboo subject in the BVI as far as I can remember. Is that something is that a barrier? Well, I don't know if it can be called a barrier, but is that something that we are trying to address in a way where we become more comfortable talking about sex?
The amazing thing is that HIV was an entry point for the gay community to enter, because most persons who are infected with HIV either contracted it through homosexual or bisexual means, right? They were practicing homosexual or bisexual sex. And so it was an entryway for gays to stand up for their rights. Commercial sex workers say sex work is work. These are things that we don't want to talk about, but we have to, because when all is said and done, most of our lives are impacted by these practices. And so, like I say, it is now a time for us in our society to discuss, to share with our children, to talk, because the gay movement is on the rise. They're coming out, transgender, transsexual. I mean, they are making their voices heard. And if you're not clear, you can become easily confused. You can become ignorant. You can become angry for no apparent reason. And so it is important for us to create that open discussion and provide information, you know, and share.
Is Scotiabank on board with this
With this project
new,
that
well,
you
this new trust? I mean, I don't know. Do you perhaps most of your workers are Christians, I believe in Christ. You know, I don't know if they saved or, you know, what we used to call Christian back in the old days, somebody who was saved. Now,
Still the same.
now a Christian is somebody who believes in Jesus. You know, not you ain't necessarily saved, but
Okay, I didn't know that.
you believe in Jesus. You know, I believe in the religion of Christianity.
Okay.
Let me put it that way. But is that Scotiabank doesn't find any challenges in dealing with this new type of information and bringing sexuality into ages that ordinarily it was not something to do in our community?
Nope.
So you never thought, they haven't
We
thought of
never,
it.
no. But you know, kids are going to school, they're going to daycares, they're going to, and they're exposed to stuff. So we have to take responsibility as parents and talk to our kids as well. Because when they come home and say, "Mommy, how come Susan have two mummies?" Or a daddy and or two daddies. We have to, you know, educate our kids. I mean, you have to use, of course, age-appropriate information to disseminate to them. But we have to talk to our kids.
And is that what that is?
That's the purpose
Age-appropriate,
of the book.
age-appropriate information
Yeah.
to help you to deal with those challenges?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
How many of them have you printed?
We've printed 100 of each so far. Yes.
Which
and-
I mean is nearly, that's not nearly enough.
No. We've been doing it since last year. We launched them for World AIDS Day last year, and so we went over to Christmas in Spanish Town, and they were disseminated to the students in Virgin Gorda, children in Virgin Gorda. And no, they're available for all the sister islands for regional testing day, and we've been giving them out as we visit schools. So
How have they, you have any feedback?
excellent reviews from the young people. They have completed the books. It's not that they did half and left half, because we do follow up. We go back and we discuss some of the topics.
So what I mean, what you do in the workbook? Workbook, you have things that you write
Activities, fill in
in.
the blanks, puzzles, mazes, crosswords, word find, yes, and information, stories. We have a story in there about a young man who liked to cook, and his friends used to tease him and call him a sissy. And there were questions: if you were him, what would you do? Or if you were his friends, how would you feel? That kind of thing. For them to explore what they feel and how they think about certain issues.
I've noticed on the playground
Yes.
that young men, they have a saying that they say often. You like men.
You like man.
Yeah.
Not just young men, girls say to young girls say to boys.
Okay. I haven't heard girls saying it,
I've heard it.
but it's a most common thing.
Yes.
You know, where if to the point where when you're playing basketball and you say, "Go on that man over there," like as if to defend against
Yes,
him.
yes.
You can't use that
Yes,
term anymore.
yes.
You know, well, I ain't going at no man. You know.
Yes.
I mean, how I don't understand where is that coming from, and it seems homophobic.
Yes.
And is it something that's developing in a young men? Is it a fear of homosexuality? What's the psychological basis for that? That's something that you are aware of, obviously.
I am aware of it.
Have you thought about it? Because I've been thinking about it. And I've been wondering what is that about? Where
I'm
is
not
that?
just thinking about it. I've been speaking to the young people about it, and it's a part of respect and understanding. If you respect somebody, even if a young man behaves feminine to you, you have no right to call him anti-man, to call him, the ludicrous names, or to say like man. It is disrespectful. Basic disrespect. And so we have to learn as a society, and especially, but you see most young people, everybody's doing it, so hey,
Cool.
It's cool, but it's not. When all is said and done, it is not, because people process things, and if they find, oh my gosh, I do like men, now how am I going to deal with this? Because that's what they've been telling me for a while. You know,
Well, yeah,
it puts pressure.
and it keeps you in the quote unquote closet.
Yes.
Yeah.
You hide,
yeah.
and then you put yourself at risk.
And what impact does that have on a young person who might be effeminate at that early age? And how does that circumstance play out in their lives as they grow older?
Emotionally, they're torn, they're shattered, especially if they recognize that they are attracted to the opposite sex. And then they're being teased. It makes it worse. It makes processing how they feel actually worse. It compounds the situation. When they could have walked through it and said, okay, this is just a phase, I'm over it, I don't feel the same, or yes, I do, this is the way I want to go, it's much more difficult. It makes it harder.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember when I was growing up, because that's my only frame of reference.
Yes.
Trying to figure out how the kids are today, as opposed to how we were back then, and I don't recall us thinking of homosexuality at all.
No, man, we used to call people anti-man.
That's true.
Yeah, probably don't remember.
time.
Well, in my time, in the 70s.
Well,
Yeah. Never thought of my friends there that way. Yes. When we were growing up, I remember people used to tease.
But I remember anti-man, yes. I remember the term.
It's the same thing. Yes, it's the same sort of
But it
didn't
wouldn't have
seem-
been out there like it is today.
Yeah, it didn't seem so
It's more
prevalent.
in the closet.
Yeah, I mean, although few people you would in the community would point to and say that's an anti-man.
Yes, and sometimes if there's a effeminate young man at school, most people tease, and
but now today it seems like it's
rampant,
it's rampant, and it makes me wonder if perhaps, I don't know, the international the international media is putting that putting that fear in our young children of each other's various behaviors and various lifestyle choices.
And that is why we decided to do the Respect and Understanding workbook series, to start educating our young people. We've been speaking about it for a number of years, and just creating that awareness that even if someone behaves different, even if they prefer relating to an opposite sex or the same sex or whatever, just respect people for who they are.
Yeah. And an interesting thing happened, and I don't know that person who had on the book, a young lady who was playing basketball with the guys, and they were teasing her and asking her why she like woman. I mean, these kids, they get into stuff. I don't know, the parents know, but they get into stuff. Why she like woman? She needed like men. And she said, that's my business. I like woman, that's my business. She was quite confident and bold about it, and she couldn't have been more than 15. And I was taken by that kind of like shocked and appreciative of the fact that she had that confidence. But that was, I mean, it's just interesting.
It is. It is.
That now at my age, playing basketball with young people and watching them grow up and watching their behavior and listen to them, curse and act and say and engage in bullying, and you see it play out all around you, and then I just observe it, and I was like, wow, I don't I'm trying to get a frame of reference. I don't remember myself being in these types of situations. I know we played, and I know we cursed and we bullied and so on, but it's a whole new new level.
And that's one of the benefits of the national guidelines, because it talks to men's health, and it also speaks to men of various sexual diversities, because if a man who is in a homosexual relationship is being beaten by his partner, imagine he would not have any courage whatsoever to share with the doctor that, yes, I'm in a homosexual relationship, and my partner is beating me, I'm being abused. He's not going to the police station to report it, and he's not going to tell the doctor he was held down, that kind of thing. And so you see violence against men from their partners or from other people who don't think like them. And so, like I said, emotionally it can take a toll, and we have to be very conscious and aware of basic respect and human rights. We all have a right to live.
But what about those who say it is a punishment for going against the laws of God?
What is a punishment?
When you get abused, the society ostracize you,
HIV/AIDS.
HIV/AIDS, all these things that are coming upon us as human beings, that you know we are trying to mitigate and make acceptable, and try not to judge. The judgment has already been done because the Bible has already judged. Because when the Bible condemns, it judges. And so, how are we trying to mitigate this judgment that has already been meted out by God?
But then again, I don't know if you saw the saying on Facebook, how can you judge me? How can you judge one sin greater than the next? Like, who determines sin is sin? How do you determine that homosexuality is worse than lying, backstabbing, gossiping, that kind of thing? So when all is said and done, we should not use or what we believe to kill people, condemn them, cast them aside. We need to extend ourselves in love. I believe that God is love, and we have to be able to have grace.
Well, it seems like in the Bible there is a differentiation between various types of sin.
But in the same paragraph, he has other types of sin.
Like it's like he don't say lie. He said thou shalt not lie.
Yes.
You don't say thou shalt not lie because it's an abomination unto God.
Right.
And he says thou shalt not lay with men as you live with women. It's
Because
an abomination
abomination.
unto God. It's like that's like God view that as a worse thing than lying. I mean, you could interpret it that way. Yeah. But I'm just saying, I'm just looking at I gotta. I'm just looking at the various things that's happening in the community, and wondering about where we are going as a community and how we are going to end up in terms of the mitigation of HIV and getting the stigma, eliminating stigma, reducing the rate of growth. How are we going to do those things if we don't have some sort of moral compass?
Yes.
These moral issues that we're dealing with that are weakening us, where we find ourselves in situations where it's easier to contract these types of diseases and bring these ailments and diseases onto ourselves. I don't know if that was a long sentence.
It was a very long sentence. But yes,
how are we ever going to be able at one point and one day, sometime in the next generation? I don't even think we'll see it, but sometime in the future, with all the work that you're doing. And Scotia is doing, and all other partners, CBMP and all other partners are doing in the world, all that work, is there going to be some end to these things that we are seeing in the community? And how is that going to come about if we continue to say, there should be no punishment for these things. There should be no judgment for these things. We should accept them. Let God be the judge. And there is no pressure, no social pressure brought to bear to instill some sort of fear or shame or guilt in the human being to prevent them from engaging in these types of activities.
No, Cromwell, you're gone on a whole different level now.
Discrimination?
Yes. But when all is said and done, whether you practice heterosexual or homosexual sexual activity, I am just advocating for safe sex. Protect yourself, because HIV does not have a face. Morals are very relative, they're very personal, subjective, and every individual decides. Every man, like Bob Marley said, has a right to decide his own destiny, right? And so when all is said and done, the Bible says, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. We all have to decide based on the word of God what our moral compass is. But we cannot make anyone go the way we want them to go unless they are conscious and aware. And all I'm saying is, regardless of who you are, practice safe sex.
Deal with the reality.
Deal with the reality, because right now we're trying to lessen the spread of HIV. And it is prevalent among our homosexual, bisexual community. It is prevalent among our heterosexual community. And so we're all at risk. once you're born, you are at risk.
So don't judge.
Don't
Yes.
judge.
Just deal with reality.
Yes.
And whatever we have to do to mitigate the circumstances, that's what we do. Whew. It's interesting. It's interesting. And so your books are doing well, and you think that young people grasping some of this information will have a different perspective in the future that perhaps would reduce stigma,
Yes.
would help the practice of safe sex, and a greater understanding of who they are and what their roles are in society.
Yes.
But speaking of roles in society, I mean, are your books telling young men and young women, what they ought to be when they grow up? What their roles are. This is a gender issue.
Gender stereotype.
Yeah, the gender stereotyping. And I think the question has always been in my mind whether gender stereotyping is good or bad. Can you put a judgment on gender stereotyping? When I grew up in an environment with a strict gender roles, gender stereotype,
Right.
and I don't see it as harmful. My mother nurtured me. My father provided the food, and I thought that I turned out a lot better for it because my mother was at home
Right.
and wasn't working, and I was able to come home and get a good meal. My clothes were always pressed. I was always sharp. I was never hungry. I learned my ABCs early. I learned to read and write early. I learned my manners, my etiquette. That was definitely, without a doubt, because my mother was home with me
Okay.
all the time, and she
Okay.
played, and that was her role. She was a nurturer. She took care of my father. She sewed his socks and his underwear, and that's how that was. And I thought that was a great thing.
Well, my mother worked and she did all of that. She sewed the socks and nurtured us and all of that. But gender roles are defined by a society, and men are expected to be the breadwinners. In our society, no longer are women going to stay at home because most of us have been educated, we have our degree, and we can get a job, we can earn our income. Most of us do not have our men around, and so we have to stand on our own 2 feet and take care of ourselves, take care of our children, take care of our homes. We have to carry our load. And so the same society that you grew up in no longer exists.
Gone,
Right.
gone and lost forever.
It lasts forever. I didn't say it lasts forever, but right now it's no longer there. But our gender roles are still expected because children tease children and say you like man when they behave a certain way, or just to tease them. So we still decide men must behave a certain way, they must look a certain way, they must act a certain way, they should not be too feminine and effeminate. So yes, we still have some more work to be done.
Okay. I want to thank you all for coming. We finally at 10 o'clock. Quite interesting conversation. I think we need to have more of these conversations, and I know it's a little further afield than
Regional testing day.
Regional testing day.
Yes.
But nonetheless, I think it's all part of our overall social engagement that we need to have. That's going to also help us to deal with STIs in general, HIV specifically. So let's go over quickly in the remaining couple of minutes that we have. What's going to happen on Friday? What's going to happen on next Friday?
Okay, Friday the 13th, which is this Friday coming BVI, we're going to be in Anegada at the Anegada Clinic, in Jos Van Dyke at the Jos Van Dyke Clinic, and in Virgin Gorda at Scotia Bank parking lot, in the Virgin Gorda Yacht Harbor, the Valley Virgin Gorda, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Food, drinks, music, free testing, quick testing, confidential testing, information, massages, the works, giveaways from Scotiabank, all excitement. And then on Friday, June 27th, we're going to be at the Noah Lloyd Positive Action Movement Park from 9 a.m. in the morning until 4 in the afternoon for our Health and Wellness Expo in Tortola. Same thing like Virgin Gorda. Please come out. We're inviting you. If you've never had an HIV test done, that's who we're targeting, first-time testers. If you've been tested already, most people say they have it done on an annual basis. Come out. If you've never had a test done, come out for the first time.
And it only takes a split second to get a
2
test.
minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
And you get your result back in about 20 minutes?
Yes.
Yeah.
in writing.
Yeah.
Longest split second.
As long as, yeah. You got a little anxiety.
Yes.
But you got counseling there before you.
Yes.
Preparation
Yes.
to take a test.
Yes.
Yeah. You know.
That little butterfly.
It's just
Yeah, that
you
little
know. I mean,
teeny-
as courageous as I think I am, when I did it the first time, I was like, you know, wow,
Playing back.
this is
Was
deep.
there any?
Yeah.
What if?
What
Yeah,
if?
what if? Yeah, that one little what if there in your mind.
Yes.
It's there.
Yes.
It's
You know.
there. Yeah.
So it's there. But once you get past that, though, you know, once you get past that, you get comfortable, and you know,
It's a good feeling.
it's a good,
honestly
it's a
a good
good
feeling to know
feeling.
yourself.
Yes.
It's a good feeling.
I could breathe.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was my
It's-
first reaction.
Yes.
Thank you all for coming. Had a great time.
Thank you for having
Thanks
us.
for the conversation.
You're welcome.
And all the best. Continue good work. And Scotia, you're doing a fantastic job. And I didn't know. I thought that you were just supporting the BVI. I didn't know you were doing the
No,
whole thing
it
regionally.
was
And
Scotia
that's
Bank.
certainly a great give back to the community.
Definitely.
Yes. Next week, the spotlight going to shine on the Status of Children Act. Yeah, you know. I think Sister Laura Lee is going to be back with her team of lawyers. And we're going to be talking about the status of children. And, you know, there are a lot of questions. People ask me a lot of questions about inheritance in particular. You know, children born out of wedlock, are they entitled to, you know, I had one person say his father left 8 acres of land and he was an outside child. And the inside children, them don't want to give him even 1 little acre. You know, it's a whole rigmarole. But that's like seems to be like the sticking point of the Status of Children Act. And there's a lot of other things involved in that act as well that we're going to discuss. So that's going to be, the spotlight is going to be on the Status of Children Act next. And of course, Spotlight is seen Tuesdays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 2:30. You could get Spotlight on JTV Live, Spotlight, jtvlive.net. You can see Spotlight on jtvlive.net. Any Spotlight that you missed, you want to catch up with, or you only saw part of. Of course, I want to thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support, for continually giving me words of encouragement, your suggestions. Continue to email me at jtvspotlight@yahoo.com. I'm at Joenka reminding you that when the spotlight is on, you see the facts. Peace and blessings.
Spotlight is brought to you by Tortola Concrete Limited and H. Lavity South Community College.